Welcome, everyone. Leroy Truth for Leroy Truth Investigations. Because the truth revealed through transparency, through video, shall keep us free. Now, I, like so many of you, are disgusted with the latest of thousands of these murderous incidents that have occurred by the police. And most of the time, the cops get away with it. And the latest is Tyre Nichols. God bless his soul. A victim of not just those 5, or now it's actually 6 cops are being noted in the mix of things. 5 have been charged with murder. It's not just those 5 cops. It's the entire culture of police. And something that almost no one's talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is who was the leader in charge of those cops who sadistically and savagely beat an innocent man. From everything that I've read and heard and saw, they savagely beat an innocent man to death. And the only reason they are initially charged is because there was video. And that didn't happen instantly. There is no transparency with police. And I'm going to show you a video of the chief of police of Memphis. She needs to be held as responsible for the murder of that young man, Tyre Nichols, as the 5 people who beat the shit out of that guy savagely. She is culpable. And she makes it like she has no clue. Oh, I'm so disappointed in the behavior. It was the culture. She's the leader. She creates the culture. No, nothing like that could ever exist in a police department unless from the top down they are allowing that and probably encouraging and nurturing that. So I'm going to show you first a report I just read today. It came out from the New York Times. And what this is about is the reports that the 5 cops who beat Tyre Nichols to death, the reports are very, very different than what the video reveals. Cops lie constantly. They are even legally allowed to lie. They are legally allowed to lie to you and me and anyone. Yet somehow people think, oh, if cops write it in a report or go on a witness stand and swear in front of God and their fellow men and women that they will tell the truth, so help them God, that is the biggest mistake, farce, lie. They are known liars. By the way, a number of people have been asking me, Leroy Truth, why do you wear a badge? Are you a cop? I'm confused. I am absolutely not a cop, and I am absolutely not impersonating a cop. What is a badge? It's freaking costume jewelry that cops wear. And cops think because they wear a badge and a costume, as Brian from Here's the Deal often says, it gives them higher authority over your life and property than you. This is a joke. It's a joke that they wear them and people perceive it to be authority. So I play with the joke here. And when I go on audits, go to town halls, cops get super confused. Is he one of us? Is he impersonating an officer? Is he part of the thick blue line? He's not acting like that, though. He's taking video and trying to hold us accountable for what we do in the course of our public duty. Is he impersonating an officer? No, I am not. Someone gave me this badge, and it says Leroy Truth Investigations. First Selectman Rudy Marconi in Richfield, Connecticut, got very upset with me for wearing it. And he's like, are you impersonating a cop? And like, no, I am an investigative journalist. Well, take it off. That's only for the police. Police do not have a monopoly on badges, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone can wear a badge. I'm an investigative journalist. And I wear this proudly to stick it to them, anyone who perceives that this actually gives you authority over another human being. Here, I'm going to show you this report. I'll read through some of this. Initial report on Tyre Nichols' arrest is contradicted by videos. Police lie on reports constantly. And it's only when the videos come out that the truth is revealed. 99.9999% of the time. Thank God someone requested the body cam footage on this and followed up with it. Now, a police report written hours after officers beat Tyre Nichols was starkly at odds with what videos have since revealed, making no mention of the powerful kicks and punches unleashed on Nichols, and instead claiming that he was violent. This is so disgusting. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just one incident. This has been happening again and again and again and again. And the chief of police in the various areas, the media, mainstream media is compliant in this as well. They attempt to minimize what actually occurred, the truth of what occurred. And it's not an isolated incident in a city here, a town there. It is systemic with the entire police culture in the United States of America. The police report painted Nichols, 29, who died 3 days after January 7th beating, as an irate suspect who had started to fight with Memphis police officers, even reaching for one of their guns. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the big lies that cops use to justify killing innocent people. They will claim in a report and have their fellow officers who are also complicit and liars protecting the thick blue line. Stop calling it a thin blue line. It is a very thick blue line. And they will say, oh, he reached for my gun, so I had to shoot him. And all the other officers on scene, yes, he reached for the gun. Lying pieces of shit. That happens constantly. This is just the latest. And I don't accept this. I'm working with a senator right now to attempt to change some federal laws in regards to this. And I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. The police report painted Nichols, 29, who died 3 days after the January 7th beating, as an irate suspect who had started to fight with Memphis police officers, even reaching for one of their guns. I wanted to underline that by sharing that with you again. The videos, which were released last week, showed nothing of the sort, AKA they lied through their teeth to protect themselves and try to forever hurt the name and reputation of that man they murdered in cold blood. Instead, they captured police officers yanking Nichols from a car, threatening to hurt him, and then, after he ran away, catching up with him and inflicting the deadly beating. All the while, it appears from the videos, Nichols never struck back. Now, we have a right to defend ourselves as human beings. He didn't defend himself. However, he had 5 vicious pigs, sadistic people beating the hell out of him. So he really had no chance. But he would have had a chance if one of those cops who had a gun said to the other 4, stop or I will shoot you. That didn't happen. Because you want to talk about protect and serve? That would be a cop protecting and serving someone. They see their fellow officers savagely beating an innocent man. And instead of joining the fray, and I heard one of those cops afterwards, they said, that was fun. Did you know that? He said that was fun after they were done beating that guy to a pulp, that innocent man. All it took was one cop with a gun to stand back, step back, and say, all of you, stop right this instant. I am now protecting and serving the community. And if they didn't stop, that cop had every right to use deadly force to save Tyre Nichols' life. And it didn't happen because that's the thick blue line. That's the culture that exists. And it starts with that piece of shit police chief. We're going to see a video of her in just a few minutes. On Monday, the fallout from Nichols' death continued. The police department announced that it had suspended 2 more officers in addition to the 5 who have already been fired and charged with murder in the beating. Meanwhile, the city's fire chief, Gina Sweat, fired 2 emergency medical technicians and a lieutenant who had responded to the scene, saying that they had all violated a range of policies. This is Caligula here. How is this possible in the United States of America? You may ask. It's because it's been allowed for decades and generations now. What I'm working with the senator on, end qualified immunity, period, for all cops. All cops must have body cams. It would be a felony to mute the audio or stop the video of a body cam during the course of their duty. All body cam footage has got to be released within 24 hours of request. And the end of internal investigations of police officers. It's like the teacher saying, hey, how'd you do on your test? And letting you grade every test and saying, oh, I got an A, teacher. How did we allow this as a society? To allow the police who have the so-called authority to assault, harass, and even kill, murder people, so-called in the line of their duty, to investigate themselves. That has to end immediately. That's how things can start changing. A protest here and there, I understand people are doing them, they get upset, and they should do them, but that, as you know, we've had hundreds of protests for all of the murders of men, innocent men, by police through the decades, and they haven't changed anything. The fire chief said that the EMTs had been responding to a report of a person who had been pepper sprayed, and that they had relied on information given to them at the scene, presumably by some of the police officers who had just kicked, punched, and used a baton to pummel Nichols, a FedEx worker and father who had pleaded with officers to stop. The official account written by a police officer early the next day told a much different story, in which Nichols was the assailant. Again, a lie, a pathetic, profound, disgusting lie that was supported by every single person on the scene. Because again, this didn't come out initially. There wasn't a good cop in that mix that suddenly went to the chief and said, "Chief, this is what happened. We gotta hold these officers accountable." That didn't happen. It was the latest instance nationwide in which video evidence, whether from body camera footage or a bystander's cell phone, offered a starkly different account of police violence from what officers had reported themselves. Now, continuing, in Minneapolis, for example, this is what the report said. Police said in May 2020 that George Floyd had died following a medical incident, a description that was soon challenged by a teenager's cell phone video, leading to international protests and charges against 4 officers. That's how history would have known George Floyd. Died because of a medical incident, a blip on the Minneapolis radar, just one of many who have died during a police encounter. A video revealed the truth, because the truth shall keep us free. It wasn't until that video came out that the truth was revealed. But did anything change from all of those protests? For the most part, no. A little window dressing here and there. But the thick blue line of lack of almost complete accountability in police culture is intact. I personally want to change that. I ask you to join me in this, on changing this, by you calling your senators, your congressmen, congresswomen, your local mayors, your first selectmen, your state senators, state assembly, and demand that they end qualified immunity immediately. They end internal investigations immediately. They require every single cop to have a body cam on and make it a felony to turn that body cam off, either mute it or turning the video off during the course of their duty. And that all body cam footage has to be released within 24 hours. And any incident with a cop has got to go to the chief of police. It is their responsibility. They are as culpable and as responsible of the assaults, the harassment, the shredding of civil and human rights, and murder as the people under their watch and guidance and management. In Nichols' arrest, the officers wrote that police stopped Nichols' car January 7th after seeing him drive quickly and into oncoming traffic, and that once he was stopped, Nichols had been refusing a lawful detention, quote unquote, and fought detectives on the scene. Sarah Davis, the police chief, has said investigators have been unable to determine whether Nichols was driving recklessly. And the videos show that officers had approached his car with their guns drawn while threatening and cursing at him before pulling him out and pushing him to the ground. Nichols sounded distressed. What human being wouldn't be terrified for their life with all these cops with guns drawn, aggressively approaching them? Especially with all the police murders that we have seen with our own eyes on video. Nichols, sounding distressed, says, "You don't do that, okay?" And then tries to follow officers' contradictory and rapid-fire commands, which included ordering him to get on the ground when he was already lying down. "All right, I'm on the ground," he says, before responding to another demand. "Yes, sir." But the police continued to be aggressive, with one threatening to fire his taser at Nichols and another threatening to break his hands. Nichols pleaded with them to stop and said at one point, "You guys are really doing a lot right now." I absolutely feel for Nichols, what he went through, Tyre Nichols, and for his family, what they're going through. There's no justice yet. Let's see if it occurs. By the way, I know personally what it is like to be assaulted by a cop and having a gun drawn, put to my temple with the cop's finger on the trigger and me being 1/8 inch of a trigger pull of being murdered by a cop. I have experienced police culture. What did I do? I was simply refusing to give my ID because there was no probable cause, no reasonable articulable suspicion that I was committing a crime or was going to commit a crime. So I know what it's like to be 1/8 inch trigger pull away from being murdered by a cop for standing up for my rights. Let's continue. The police report said that sometime around this period, Nichols had grabbed for a detective's gun, something not shown in any of the videos, because most likely it was a lie. The typical line cops use to justify illegally murdering an innocent man. The officers then deployed pepper spray into Nicholas's face, after which he ran away toward his mother's house. According to his mother, he was only 80 or 90 yards away from his mother's house. That is instinct kicking in, ladies and gentlemen. You are being pulverized, beaten, tased, pepper sprayed. Is it normal for a human being to sit there and take it? Absolutely not. Tyre Nichols did what he needed to do to attempt to save his life. But the cops will say, oh, he was evading arrest, not complying with our commands. No, he was trying to stay alive. This is so disgusting. And we need to take action now by calling every single politician, making sure they stop qualified immunity right now. They stop internal investigations right now. Body camera footage is not allowed to be muted in any way, video or sound, or it would be a felony. And all body cam footage has got to be released within 24 hours of request. And whoever the head of that police agency is as culpable for whatever crimes his or her underlings do as the people who do them. Now let's watch some video of the Memphis police chief being interviewed by the smarmy ABC George Stephanopoulos.
Let's bring in Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis. Chief Davis, thank you for joining us this morning. So the officers were charged yesterday. Why is the video being released tonight? Are you worried that it's coming out on a Friday night?
Well, there was much discussion about when an appropriate time for the video to be released, George, and not just the Memphis Police Department, but with city administration and other agencies in the area. We felt that Friday would be better. We're taking into consideration the reaction of the community.
You hear what she's saying, ladies and gentlemen, what Chief Davis is saying? They want to minimize the impact this video will have on people who will be absolutely outraged. Now, I'm not condoning any violence. I'm not condoning any rioting. But they're trying to minimize the impact. When is the best time to release video or a news story for minimal impact? On a Friday evening. They don't give a shit about the community. They don't give a shit about Tyre Nichols. They don't give a shit about Tyre Nichols' family. They care about themselves and minimizing the damage to their reputation and credibility, which they have none. Let's continue.
That could potentially take place, and ensuring that our schools, are out. Most business folks would be on the way home on tomorrow.
Did you give any consideration at all to
or this evening? I'm sorry.
Right. Did you give any consideration at all to not releasing the video, given the concerns?
No, not at all.
That's politics. She is speaking politically, not as a human being. If she didn't release that video, she would be out of a job. She is trying to save her job. One of my goals with this video to you and for everyone watching it is to have her also charged in the murders of these 5 people as the direct supervisor who allowed this culture to exist. It was all political what she's doing here now.
Continue to talk about transparency, and even though this is a very, very difficult video to watch, it was never a thought that we would not release this video. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't released too prematurely because we wanted to.
Tyre Nichols, a life snuffed out ahead of his time. Well, he could have contributed to his family, all his loved ones, his friends, in the community. We will never know.
Ensure that the DA's office, the TBI, and also the FBI had an opportunity to cross some of the hurdles that they had to in their investigation. And we're sort of at a point now that the DA has made his statements in reference to charges of these officers that this is a safe time for us to release the video.
I'm going to pause there a minute. Why didn't the video come out sooner? There was a police report. Even though the cops lied about what happened with Tyre Nichols, there was still a young man was beaten to death by someone, ends up in a hospital, 3 days later dies. And the police chief doesn't think that she needs to check out what went on with the people who are under her direct supervision? Everything she says is a lie and is political.
Say it's difficult to watch. What was your reaction when you first saw the video?
In my 36 years, George, I would have to say I don't think I've ever been more horrified and disgusted, sad, but just, and to some degree confused.
Confused, sad. This is her culture. She is culpable of what happened. This is the culture she created. She knows exactly what that Scorpion unit was doing. They were created for a purpose. And they were there manhandling anyone they wanted, getting away with anything they wanted. She knew exactly what's going on.
Confused?
Yes.
Why?
When I say confused, just in the level of aggression and response to what had occurred in this traffic stop, and it's still very unclear, as to the real reason for the stop in the first place.
I guess part of your confusion must be rooted in the fact that your department did enact new policies in the way.
Well, let's pause that now. He's moving past that. Piece of shit. Mainstream media, George Stephanopoulos, total piece of shit. She's confused. Let's go with that first. Because she looked at the body cam footage. She looked at whatever other videos were taking video at the time, any other businesses, any dash cam footage, which I haven't heard anyone mention dash cam footage releases, by the way. But she's saying she saw nothing that indicated that Tyre Nichols drove recklessly. But then she adds the asterisk, But it doesn't mean he didn't. And I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I didn't see it. Chances are it was something inane, maybe a taillight out, a license plate light out, or something. They just, again, they make up a story to fit their narrative to defend themselves against the assault, savage assault and murder of this young man.
Wake of George Floyd's murders, what went wrong here?
Well, I think that there were several gaps that took place, and I'm just going to be honest. Anytime we have officers that are working in various types of units, and our police department, along with departments around the country, have specialized units, it's just important to make sure that there are supervisors that are where they're supposed to be.
Fuck you, lady. Fuck you. It's important that they have supervisors who are where they're supposed to be. You are their freaking supervisor. Where were you? You're trying to blame people under you. You are the ultimate authority in your department. It was your job. Why is no one, I haven't heard it, put it in the comments if you have, why is no one in mainstream media attempted to hold her responsible as well? Just as responsible.
During these types of operations, and individuals that are the right people that are in place that will act appropriately when these types of incidents occur. I believe there was a sense of groupthink.
It's called police culture. Police culture, idiot. Whether it's in Memphis or in LA or Chicago, Miami, cops do groupthink. And if one cop talks against that groupthink of the thick blue line, stop calling it the thin blue line, everybody, the thick blue line, they are either harassed, assaulted, fired, and sometimes even murdered.
In the mentality of what was happening, and it's just very unfortunate that nobody stepped forward to say enough.
You think it?
Because that's not your culture, idiot. The culture has to be do the right thing. Because as Brian with Here's the Deal channel says, a conformist will do whatever they're told regardless of what is right. As Brian from Here's the Deal channel says often, a conformist will do what they are told regardless of what is right. A moralist will do what is right regardless of what they are told. It is the thick blue line police culture. It is embedded in the culture of policing. And it will take way more than a protest or way more than a single video of the murder of an innocent man to change it. And we collectively can do it, starting now.
It's possible that the initial stopping of the car was improper?
As far as I know today, I do believe that the stop itself was very questionable. We have been unable to verify the reckless driving allegation. There have been many searches of video footage, along the corridors of the streets that this stop supposedly occurred, or that the witnessing of reckless driving occurred. And we haven't been able to substantiate in any type of video that there was a reckless driving type of action that prompted this stop.
Did any of the police officers?
What about the dash cam footage? Was there dash cam footage? No one's talking about it. Maybe there is no substantiation because it was a total freaking lie.
Involved have prior criminal records?
She paused. She paused.
No.
You're certain of that?
As far as I know, they did not. These officers were hired from 3 to 6 years is what their tenure was, but I'm not certain that there were any criminal charges on them.
How could she not be certain? This has been now weeks since the murder took place, and she doesn't know every single fact and figure, including whether any of them had a past criminal record?
But I don't want to say for sure, but as far as I know, they didn't.
How's your department going to rebuild trust with the community in the wake of this?
This is going to be.
Rebuild trust after this murder, which is just one of probably many that have occurred in Memphis, under her watch, under her knowledge. And if she wasn't aware of it, she is incompetent, which means she needs to be fired. And if she was aware of it, which she most likely is, she needs to be fired immediately and held in criminal culpability of the murder of Tyre Nichols.
This is going to be very difficult, for the police department. I've always been a supporter of police reform and the
Yeah. As it says in the Bible, not that I'm a Bible person, but it says in the Bible, ye shall know them by their fruits. Really, she's a supporter of police reform? Proof's in the pudding, babe.
Tenets of 21st century policing, and as we continue to try to build trust with our community, this is a very, very heavy cross to bear, not just for our department, but for departments around the country. Building trust is a day-by-day interaction between every traffic stop, every encounter with the community. We all have to be responsible for that now, and it's going to be difficult in the days to come.
Chief Davis, thanks for your time this morning.
And that is what the narrative is. How pathetic. They want to rebuild trust from this murder every single day. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, subscribers of my channel, subscribers of all of the other amazing channels, from Accountability for All, San Joaquin Transparency, James Freeman, James Madison Audits, the list goes on. You see, there are thousands and thousands, there are tens of thousands of videos of cops harassing, assaulting, and sometimes killing people. Every day they have destroyed, and they continue to destroy that trust every day. We need profound police reform. In closing, I encourage you to call every single public official, from the most local level up to your senators. Email them as well. Demand immediate reform. Number one, no more qualified immunity. Number two, no more internal investigations. Number three, every cop. And by the way, I don't use the term officer very often because officer delineates some sort of respect. They are not to be respected. They are to be feared, as you see Tyre Nichols well knew and was running away to try to save his life. Every cop has got to have a body cam. It would be a felony. It will be a felony if they mute their audio or stop their video at any point during the course of their duty. And all body cam footage has got to be released within 24 hours of request. And lastly, the department head and all managers actually underneath them, the chief and everyone else, is also criminally responsible for anyone who does criminal behavior as a cop. This is Leroy Truth. The truth revealed through being revealed on transparent video shall keep us free. Please subscribe, put your comments, share this with your friends. I'll see you next time. Let's change this together so Tyre Nichols and all the other people who have been murdered by police, so their deaths do not go in vain.